The truth, brother. How are you, Mr. Gray?
I'm doing pretty good. What's happening over down that way?
Oh, recovering. We wait, before we get into it, we were going to debut.
Oh.
We're going to debut Kyle May's theme song.
Yeah, you forgot to introduce Kyle May.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to play Kyle May's new intro song, and we'll just, without further ado, Kyle May's intro song.
Kyle May. Kyle May. Race car tiger. Let's go! Kyle May.
Anytime that he starts to talk, you're going to have to play that.
Kyle May, you with us?
I'm with you.
How about that, Kyle May? Intro music.
Me and my buddies decided to cover our bodies in tattoos and grow out our hair real long and just start join a headbanging clan because that's what would fit the song and I dig it.
Pisgah, Alabama will never be the same.
It will never be the same.
Never be the same. Okay,
dude,
so
I had to pull those clips because it's when Webb calls me on the phone, he says, "Hey, can you do a Kyle May intro?" I was like, "Yeah, cool. What do you got in mind?" And he starts singing me the da 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 da. He's like, "Do the da 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 da."
You should have been trying to text it. He's like, "I can text it. I guarantee I can text it." And about 30 seconds later, he's like, "I'm just going to call him and tell him I think."
He's trying to sing. He's trying to sing to me over the phone, but he's trying to tell me to do a guitar riff.
That's right. That's right.
So
I bet him at the show. I said, "Look, dude, I think I can spell G, and I tried. And I looked at Kyle and go, "You know what? I'll probably just call him."
That was my message: guitar riff to follow. And then I didn't get anything after that. He calls me on the phone.
Yeah, I failed at sounding out. I couldn't sound it. The phonetics wasn't there for me. Okay, now I want Kyle. Tell me about the car show. What was your impressions of the first ever Carolina Auto Racing show?
I think it was a good atmosphere. I met some cool people. Stephen Wallace and Barry Wright, Justin Labonte. There's some pretty cool people there. I think it's definitely got room to grow, and I'm sure that they're going to learn from this one and go from there and just get better.
He also, Brian Gray, Kyle May, race car driver, made some. He grew this weekend, and I hope I'm not giving anything away, but the Wallaces mentioned they might be starting a dirt track team.
Ooh.
And Kyle May whipped out his card that says driver/spokesman and said, "Holler at me if you need a driver." Is that not awesome?
Wow.
Well, what was the response?
The guy was like, he's like, "You definitely seem like you got it going on, and you're on your way." I was like, "Well, I appreciate it," and it was pretty cool.
But you were also like, "Hey, Old Man's Garage has the parts to do it, plus
right.
the driver."
Right.
So, well, all right, now, as I understand from a previous conversation, Mr. Brian Gray, you have some news to let everybody know about.
Oh, no, not yet. I said I had it.
Oh, you had it?
I had it.
Oh, what happened?
But that's going to be after the first break.
Oh, well, hey, my bad.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm a news gathering right now as we speak. I'm trying to find what's
fact check. Hey,
I just got to make sure that what we do come out and say is, actually from some kind of credible source.
That's exactly. Hey, and I appreciate the fact checking. All right, well, what we're going to do is this program we advertised last week is going to be about open wheel cars, open wheel racing. Right now, we're going to bring to the program one Mr. Wesley Outland with the Fast Track organization. Wesley, are you with us?
I'm doing great, Webb Dillard. How are you guys doing tonight?
Recovering from a long weekend in Hickory, where we visited with you and several other businesses attending the show. How'd the show go for Fast Track?
It went very, very well, man. I'll tell you what, Stan Lester and the entire staff and officials from Fast Track Companies International, which is the ultimate super late model series, and the Fast Track Racing Series, And the new open wheel modified series are completely happy with the way everything went. It was a great turnout for the inaugural weekend at the Hickory Metro Convention Center. A great turnout of media personalities, drivers, teams, and most of all, the best fans around, dirt late model fans, to hang out with all of us. And man, I'll tell you what, you had a great thing going on there at the Old Man's Garage booth. And I'll tell you what, also it was nice to meet the driver of the number 56 Trey late model too, Kyle May.
Kyle May is a sight to behold. Anytime.
Brian
that's an excellent picture.
On us. Brian played hooky on us. We had Webb on the radio show Friday, and I told him, I said, now if you ever come, Webb, you got to bring Kyle and Brian with you. And Kyle showed up, Brian didn't.
I was stranded up here. We had a snowstorm. Why?
Oh. Well, thank God it's not snowing here in North Carolina. By the way, that reminds me, you're in the Dirt AccuWeather forecast in North Carolina. It's cold. Cold. Temperatures in the 30s. Tomorrow it might be sunny in the 50s, but it's going to be cold the rest of the night.
Yeah, and just to add to the insult and injury there, I get on a plane in the morning. I head to nice warm Arizona, where it's like 70.
Wow. Well, man,
Speaking of,
by the time you get off the plane in Arizona, it'll be 90 degrees.
That'd be all right.
So.
Yeah, I would trade anything right now for some 90-degree weather.
I would too. A couple of weeks ago, it was 70 degrees here. It was beautiful.
Some people say that they can't take the heat. They like it cold. I'm the exact opposite. I'd much rather have it hot.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Because you can always open a cold beer when it's hot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then just forget about the heat.
That's right.
But the schedule was released for Fast Track and Ultimate for 2012. I'm not going to go over the entire schedule because I know tonight's Open Wheel Modified night. So I'm going to tell you more about the Mod Squad series that Stan Lester's created. Basically, for the Fast Track Racing Series, first event will be February 17th to the 19th. It is the first time ever that the Fast Track Racing Series has decided to make a trip down south, joining the World of Outlaws, the Lucas Oil Late Models for their Winter Nationals. It will be the Fast Track Winter Nationals at the 5/16th mile Toccoa Speedway in Toccoa, Georgia. Friday, February 17th, open practice. Saturday, February the 18th, 2,000 to win, 40-lap A main, with qualifying, with heats, with consies, all that good stuff. Immediately following that race, there will be our 2011 Fast Track Southeast Middies Touring Series banquet. And then on Sunday, we will do a 50-lap A main, paying $2,500 to win. And I want to be firm on this for everybody that wants to plan on booking, getting their tickets to go to the races. We will be starting races at 1 p.m. and be done by 6. And that will again be the first race for the Fast Track Racing Series. Ultimate Super Late Models, their first event will be March 23rd and 4th. Part of the Rebel 50 with the Fast Track Racing Series on Friday night. They'll just have open practice, and they'll be running 50 laps, 5,000 to win, part of the Dixie 100 on Saturday night at the Cleveland County Speedway in Lawndale, North Carolina. So that's pretty much what the late model cars have in store, and we'll talk about the mods here in a minute.
Now, tell me, okay, Stan Lester's not new to making his way through the sport. What brought on the addition of the open wheel modifieds, taking into account how they've not taken hold in the South? Go.
Well, I'll say this much, Webb. I mean, the bottom line is this. And I've said this to you many times on the show before. Stan Lester's an innovator. He's a creator. And by the way, Kyle and Brian, the man that called in back in December when I was on your show, he was the man, the promoter that tried to run the Fast Track Pro Late Models on the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Mother Nature got in and canceled it. They were kind of scared. There was a very high insurance bill, was one of the reasons why it got pulled, but Stan said, well, I'll still do it. But the biggest scare was that on practice night, they only had 11 late models showed up for practice.
Wow.
And they were worried what the car count was going to be. And then the day that they canceled the race, he had about 35 late models that were on the way to the grounds to Atlanta Motor Speedway, and the weather came in and spoiled the whole deal.
So is he going to try to do it again?
You know what? There's a check that's in the officials hauler that says Atlanta Motor Speedway, asphalt to dirt mania, $3,000 to win. It's got nobody's name on it. It's got the names completely, the date completely taken off. It might just be a check for memory, and it might be a check for fruition in years to come. I don't know.
So see, I might be interested in that. Now I'm thinking, I'm willing to take a chance.
In addition, Web Dealer, to the modified series, you know, like I said, Stan's an innovator, he's a creator. He's got a crazy mind. He comes up with all sorts of ideas. But the thing is this, it's kind of like the Ultimate Super Series, Web. Crew members, teams, drivers came to Stan about putting together an open wheel modified program. You know, if you ever meet Stan Lester, and I know you have, Webb, he'll tell you point blank, his heart and soul's in fast track. His heart and soul's in fast track. That's his,
he ain't playing.
Creator.
He ain't playing.
No.
Right.
Hey, is that 525 motor legal for those cars?
Yes. I will tell you that this much. You can go to www.fasttrackracing.com. Contact Stan Lester. He can help you out in any way possible. There's been a big buzz about it. I'll already tell you that Fitton, Missouri's NASCAR ARCA star Ken Schrader has already stated, Wesley, Stan, you guys put the proper stuff together. Let's get a schedule out, and I will run the Federated Auto Parts number 9 modified on the tour. So that would be a really big name to have. Former 2009 World 100 winner at Eldora, Bart Hartman, is now driving an open wheel modified as well. You know, he's not in the late models anymore. He is talking about running the high side ticklers. Kyle Strickler's talking about running the recent Ice Bowl winner. I mean, so there's a lot of big open wheel modified names that says, hey, put it together, we'll do it. Well, best thing I can tell you right now, and I don't want to take up a lot of time because you got the show going on. I know you got a whole lot of more open wheel modified stuff to cover. Basically what Stan is saying, but we'll let everyone know, the first South open wheel modified event will be part of the Fast Track Winter Nationals. Not only will the late models be running, the open wheel modifieds will be racing on Friday and Saturday. Just want to pass that along. That'll be the first modified event in the South. Volunteer Speedway is the first Fast Track modified sanctioned track in Bulls Gap, Tennessee. We're glad to have Joe and Phyllis Lovin on board. There's going to be a bunch of more. But pretty much the modifieds are going to have about 5 races up north, 5 to 10 races up north, 5 to 10 races down south. The top 15 in the points, now this is tentative right now, this is what they're saying. The top 15 from the north and the southern points, and yes, you can run both regions if you choose to, and Webb Dillard, that's common sense because that gives you an advantage.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you choose to do so, when it's all said and done, the track's not even been announced yet, they will meet at the Fast Track World Championships October 5th and 6th. To decide who will be the national champion for the modifieds. And I will tell you this much. There are still no announcements yet on where the World Championships are going to be, but I will tell you that it was kind of strange. Bill Sawyer's Virginia Motor Speedway was mentioned in the drivers' meeting on Saturday morning, and that would be one hell of a nice track to go to, Webb.
That's right. Well, Wes, I certainly appreciate you guys what you guys do at Fast Track. Thank you for having me on your show the other day there at the car show. You're welcome here anytime there's news. I expect this to be the place you, other than your own show, to release it.
Absolutely. We need to get together and cut those promos done because, hey, we work hand in hand. You promote my show, I promote yours. So, we definitely work great together. Guys, God bless. Take care of all of y'all. I'll see you at a dirt track soon.
Wesley Outland, in, out like a tornado, and a weather report. All right,
we're going to have to get him an intro.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, I need one.
Everybody, it'll be a show full of intros.
That's all right. All right,
I like doing that stuff.
Yeah, we do. We need it. We'll do a Fast Track intro. When we come back, we're going to have Gene Mince from Weaver, Alabama. He's an open wheel driver. He races open wheel not only on dirt, but also on asphalt. Be right back. Plus, Ryan Gray has some news. Be right back on In the Dirt. Welcome back to In the Dirt, race fans. We are back. Bringing back my co-hosts. Co-hosts, are you back?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Waiting in the wings. Kyle May.
I'm back.
May.
I'm here.
Where? Where's Kyle?
I'm here.
Here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Kyle May, what did you really think of? Was that your first trip to North Carolina?
Yeah.
How about
the racy little town, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
cool.
We went over to Hickory Motor Speedway, which is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, NASCAR asphalt tracks, and had a little tour there. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that guy just pretty much let us walk in the door. Like, we walked in, he was like, "You think? Can we look at the racetrack?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he pretty much explained the whole entire. He was like a tour guide. He was like a trained professional tour guide.
But he also said,
racing heaven down there.
Yeah, but he also said, "Hey Brian, also when we got there, and Kyle, I appreciate you being modest, but the guy was like, hey, aren't you Kyle May?"
He knew who you were right off the bat.
That's right. He was like, "I recognize you." Well,
you guys made it to there was all kinds of stuff going on. The Chili Bowl in Tulsa, Oklahoma was this past week.
I heard our upcoming guest Tyler Reddick took a tumble, a bad tumble at the Chili Bowl. Matter of fact. Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure he was all right.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I don't even think the car was hurt from what I was hearing.
I just heard that he did some whoop-de-doos and whoop-de-don'ts. So we'll hopefully we'll talk to him in the coming weeks, right, Brian Gray?
We're definitely working on that. But there's some more news, and this is out of Wagner County, Oklahoma, and this is from newson6.com, which is one of the local television stations out there covering pretty much a tragedy that happened this weekend in Tulsa with Donnie Ray Crawford. I don't know if many people's heard about that, but what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and read this from their press site. It said the Crawfords had been spending the week participating in the Chili Bowl races. Colbert said the family was just about to leave for the races when 74-year-old Daniel Garcia started suddenly shooting his grandson, 24-year-old Donnie Ray Crawford. Now, what in the world?
I read a little bit about this. I don't understand. I mean, I can be mad at somebody, and Kyle can attest to this, but I don't see shooting somebody as the answer.
Right, and it doesn't stop there. It says the sheriff says that when Garcia's daughter, Jody Crawford, stepped in to protect Donnie Ray, her son, Miss Crawford was wounded in the altercation trying to get control of Mr. Garcia, and Mr. Garcia was also deceased in the altercation. So I don't know if he ended up shooting himself or maybe the gun went off, but you know, it sounds like it was a horrible family tragedy, and that happened in their home there in Oklahoma over the weekend. So it's a big loss to the racing world, and to a lot of people who don't know, Harley White was a 12-year-old. She was in a mini sprint out. I guess this was it's been a few years back, but Donnie Ray was the guy that stepped in while her car was on fire. She was pretty much trapped in it and pulled her out, and she was burned severely. I mean, if Donnie wouldn't have stepped up and got in there and got her out of that car, who knows what would have happened.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the Crawford family there in Oklahoma. Certainly, it's going to be hard to find some peace in this terrible times they're having. Also, you know what? And we have Mr. Gene Mince on the phone, and I'm going to ask you to hold one more second. Brian and Kyle, I have failed to mention the last 2 weeks. One of my first guests here on In the Dirt was Miss Arlene Pittman out of Vidalia, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Sadly, she lost her bout with cancer 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, shortly after the show, she passed. And her husband came up to me this week, and Mr. Pittman came up to the booth there in Carolina. And I want to extend my condolences to all of Pink Fire's fans there in southern Georgia. Cochran area. You know, one of these days we're going to replay that interview probably next week. But
we talked about this that week.
Yeah, it's tough because you don't want to do anything because of the families. You don't want the family to be upset with you. But I've gotten Mr. Pitton has told me that replay it. I'm going to provide him with a CD of the interview. But like I said, that was a tough one to swallow with Miss Pittman passing 2 weeks ago tonight. I'd like to welcome Mr. Gene Mince to the program.
Hello, are you there?
Yes, sir. We're here.
I was waiting for my intro song. I thought that was going to happen.
We will have an intro song for you next week.
I have the tiger would have suited me just fine.
Okay, so back to the program. We're going to open with Mr. Mince. We have listeners from Ohio, Alabama, all the way down to Australia. Introduce yourself and what form of racing are you familiar with?
I'm familiar with everything. I'm a racer to the bone. What I do is I race open wheel modifieds, mostly on dirt, and when I can on pavement.
Now, do you take the same car to the asphalt as you do to the dirt?
I do, but it's a minimum of 9 hours changeover, and that's hard at it. Just to be halfway competitive on a pavement track.
See, we used to do that too, and it's absolutely a whole bunch of fun. I think it's a little easier if you just get it set up for the asphalt and then go try to drive it on the pavement with the black slick that we used to get.
Yeah, it's you need a dedicated car. We've got 2 cars, and we've taken our second car, and it's dedicated just for pavement now.
And who builds that one?
It's owned by Joey Jones. I don't know who built it, but
is it one of them Ellis modifieds out of Dayton?
It could be, or either it may be a Lightning. I was thinking it might be an older Lightning car.
Now you guys have you've brought as much as 2 cars to places like Green Valley. The Green Valley put on a pretty nice show a couple of years back. And it garnered 40 open wheel cars, those twin 40s, I believe. What is your impression with how the Southern race fan and the Southern promoter, how do they embrace the open wheel car?
I don't think a lot of people like them in the South. I think they would if they give it more of a chance. The opinion varies. I think we tried the IMCA all over Alabama and Mississippi, and I think the people in the South do not like engine claims. They are really against that. But now the promoters are going away from sanctions that allow those claims, and I think it can build now that we're getting something that the South seems to like better.
Now, the IMCA was here. And it very well might be still here, but did the IMCA lend itself to the failure of the division, or I know that some tracks have threatened to cut the division. Can you elaborate on that?
I just think it may just be in this region. I don't think people like engine claims. It's like, what's yours is yours, and what's theirs is theirs, and racers don't want someone buying any part of their car. And I think it must be something about the South that we like owning our own stuff, and keeping our own stuff.
That's
yeah,
right.
But doesn't that opens up the doors to a whole lot of other issues? I mean, I know that in the years past, like I ran modifieds back in the early '90s, all through the early '90s, and up until a few years ago. And I didn't mind the engine claim rules myself because, I mean, I never spent $3,000 or $4,000 on an engine anyway to go and race on, and I would hear of these guys spending $20-30 on a motor, and I kind of laughed at them when they said that because I just couldn't believe that people put that kind of money into their engine for a modified.
I'm with you. I never disliked the engine claim. I was a big part of the engine claim. I lost 6 engines and I purchased 4. So I stayed in it. I mean, to me, that was the rule. We needed to do it. So I bought and I sold. I wound up selling more than I bought. But I don't think as a whole down in the South, car owners and drivers, they don't like it.
Right, because they want to spend $30,000 on a motor and have what's theirs and not have to worry about taking it to a racetrack and having somebody else buy it for $1,500.
Yeah, that's probably the way they look at it.
Right.
I think the modifieds are supposed to be a working man's class, not a car owner unlimited budget class. I think it should have been where a working man can feed his family and still have fun on the weekends and run an open wheel to provide that entertainment for himself.
Right, and that's from my standpoint, they should have left the engine claim rules alone, because then I don't think I'm not sure 100% factual. I mean, we got a guest coming up on the show here in a little bit, Shane Mugavin, that could probably elaborate on what UMP is doing. But I think that even that is getting out of hand at this point. I mean, especially with the shock packages and things that they're allowing these guys to run.
All right, Go ahead.
The biggest thing that I'm seeing is right now we don't have enough support, and the tracks in the South right now are pretty much run what you brung. There's no engine claim. There's no engine rules. I do think we need something to organize it in the South that will cover a large area, and ask the drivers, get some drivers involved. This is the first opportunity I've ever had to even stick my mind on the subject.
Yeah.
You mentioned to me, Gene, that some of the tracks use threats against the open wheels. Would you care to elaborate on that?
Well, I don't want to call it. Yeah, I guess it is a threat. When a rumor gets out at a racetrack, and it's happened several times at tracks I've attended, they would say, if the car count doesn't get up, we're going to cut the modifieds out. Well, that's the worst thing a promoter can allow to happen. The promoter themselves may or may not say it, but the word gets out, and unless they correct that in a driver meeting and say, we're not cutting out the class, we want to grow this class because this is a different-looking car, it's exciting to watch, and we need more of you guys. If they want cars, they need to say that in the driver's meeting and not let rumors get out or even make a statement that if the car count doesn't go up, we're going to cut it out. Because I know of 3 guys that didn't put a car together because they were like, I'm not sure they're going to run them all year.
That's right.
Can't promote a class doing that kind of, allowing that kind of talk to go on.
And we saw, and we'll use Green Valley Speedway for an example. When they did the Twin 40s that year, hell, they got 30 open wheel cars to come, and it was two very good races. Would you not agree?
Hell, I think they got Kid Rock to come down there, didn't they?
Well, I don't know if they got Kid Rock to come, but we put on 2 good shows in one night that weekend, did we not, Gene?
Absolutely. When it's like a lot of things. If you throw money at it, they'll show up. That's not the kind of racing personally I like. I like the Saturday night show up and run for what they can afford to pay you kind of racing. But when they do put money on the top and 200 for last, you'll get a field of cars every time. It happens anywhere. If you pay them, they'll show up. But I don't actually personally compete well against that kind of open wheel car.
Now let's just put from top to bottom, put a roundabout cost on putting an open wheel car together.
Well, like I was saying, there's different. The way I look at it, there's different classes of open wheel. There's that 2,500 or 5,000 to win, 200 or 300 to start class, and then there's that weekly racing series, which IMCA represents. The budget is very different in those. In the 2,500, 5,000 to win, it's just going to be the same as the late model budget. They're allowed so many things in the engine. Money can't be an object there. In a weekly car, Like
yeah, but you know what? You know, a lot of times, and I've said this before with the late model stuff, is these guys will put a ton of money in motors, but I've got modified guys coming to me wanting 358s and 305s. And they're not worrying about going and spending a bunch of money with Mullins. And these are guys that are competing on a national level and doing very, very well. You got that little bitty tire. You got to remember that, and you're just not you just can't put no 700 horsepower down on the ground with that little bitty 8-inch tire, no matter where you're at.
I agree. Definitely don't need the horsepower like you think you would. I mean, I drove up one. I think it was like the 2009 Bama Bash, and it was a ball. And I had.
And Kyle, how hard did you push on that throttle?
Not as much as not as much as you do a late model. Not at all. Not even close. I mean, you really got to. I mean, they're a ball to drive. Don't get me wrong, but you've got to be a lot smoother and a lot calmer than you do in a late model. A lot of times.
Even on a big long straightaway where you pick up a ton of speed like up at Eldora, I know guys up there that run real well that'll tell you they don't hardly ever get more than half throttle.
Well, we've got a guest from Ohio. Caller, what's your name and where are you from?
It's Shane Mugavin.
Hey,
from
it's
Glen Oaks,
Mugavin.
Ohio. What's
Go
up?
ahead, Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
What's going on, Shane?
Not much. How you guys?
I think we're doing pretty good now. For a lot of people that don't know Shane is the organizer of the Cincinnati Modified Championship. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Tell us a little bit about that series, so to speak. If you even want to call it a series, I like the concept, and I think you've done a heck of a job putting it all together. But give everybody a little bit of background about what it is and how you came up with the idea.
Well, it wasn't alone. It was a bunch of us sitting around after races, kind of just bench racing, and we, it came from some fans and some drivers, and just everybody felt like the modified racing on a lot of nights was out doing some of the sprint car shows that they were on the undercard for, and some of the late model shows that we had more cars showing up. The racing was a little better, and you pick up your local racing paper at the next week, and it's got 3-4 paragraphs of the late model or sprint car race, and it's got at the end it says who won the modified feature. We just felt like the modifieds up here weren't getting enough publicity, weren't getting recognized for what we felt like. We had some really good drivers that deserved some recognition, and we felt like there needed to be something done. Most of the tracks around here run under UMP, but UMP does not do anything to promote the drivers or the racing. They promote, basically, they take the money in from the tracks, they take the money in from the racers, and they pay it out at the end of the year, but there's not any, they leave the promoting up to the racetracks, and that's pretty much it. So,
and the UMP points, and I didn't even understand this before, is that the UMP points are kind of a collaborative between a bunch of different racetracks. So you're not necessarily running against say there could be a guy that's running second in the points, but he only competes over in Indiana, while this other guy might be leading the points and racing in Ohio and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, the UMP points, they're spread out so much that depending on what area you're in, like Illinois, you can race 4-5 nights a week at UMP tracks sometimes, especially when the Summer Nationals come through there. And, I mean, you can really load up on your races, but they do only count your best, I think UMP maybe 20 or 25 races. But, I mean, those guys, we may struggle here in the Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana area to get that many races where them guys are racing 50, 55 times, so they got a lot better chance of winning that. And you don't see a lot of guys over here really compete for the UMP championship, even though we run under UMP. So we just, we came up with something for the area. We wanted, basically to find out who, everybody's always arguing who's the best in the area. So this pretty much is determined it. And what we came up with is we take each driver's best 15 finishes from Moeller Raceway Park, Lawrenceburg Speedway, Florence Speedway, and Brush Creek, and Brush Creek
and those
was only
are all
in for 5
tracks
races.
that are pretty much within a couple of hours from each other, no matter where you're at.
Oh yeah, from the farthest track to the farthest track, you're talking an hour probably to get from Brush Creek to Lawrenceburg. Mm-hmm. So you're not very far at all. And the good thing is like I said, all those run under UMP rules, so the tires are pretty similar. Florence does not run UMP sanction, but they run UMP rules with the exception they run the A tire. Well, a lot of us guys run the A tire only anyhow, so it's really not that far of a stretch for us to be able to run that. So it works out really good.
Shane, Shane. This is Web Dealer. We're also joined with Gene Mince, a Southern open wheel modified driver of asphalt and dirt. Also joined by Kevin. You with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Kevin Waddell is also. Shane, tell us what the northern perception is of the open wheels in the South.
The perception we have of the open wheels in the South, I mean, I don't know that we have a perception of the open wheels in the South. I mean, we hear a lot about the USMTS out west. We really don't get a lot of info on the guys in the South. We may hear of a race down. They had the big race there in Arkansas for a while. If there's a big high dollar paying race or something, we get some feedback and stuff like that. Other than, the racing around here, we have so many big. You can usually find up here at least every other weekend a modified show within Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. So there's really not a lot of reason to travel outside of there unless you're
on a given night where they're paying $750 to win. There's 45 cars vying for it.
Yeah,
exactly. And we had nights here where Lawrenceburg, Florence, and Brush Creek were all running on a Saturday night, and we had almost 100 modifieds running, between those 3 tracks, and like I said, within an hour of each other. So there's really not a lot of reason for guys to travel down south. But I mean, we keep an eye on, if anything comes out of there that's fast or something like that. I mean, it definitely grabs our attention.
Kevin Waddell, you and your father, Harold Waddell, you guys raced what's called, and correct me if I'm wrong, an outlaw open wheel, right?
Yeah, we tend to try to go with the series or the races that are a little more lenient on the rules than like your IMCA type races.
How did the IMCA fail in the South?
Well, IMCA is a good series, and I think they've got a good meaning behind them. But they tend to, kind of with Gene on the claim rule, and I don't mind the claim rule, but the price of the claim rule, when I first started in modifieds, it was a $300 claim, and I think since it's went up to about $500, and I think that part of that run them off, and they put too much emphasis on things that really didn't matter. That there wasn't more of an expense. For instance, the bodies. They're huge on the bodies, and I know you got to have some limits on that. But nobody wants to watch a square car with no front end on it. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's not appealing to people. Where I think some of these outlaw races, they let you run spoilers. You can run fins, the wider bodies, and it's just more of appealing to watch. It don't look like a 1950 model car out there trying to run in today's standards.
It makes it a little more lenient, and I noticed that with the UMP stuff. Shane, what do they still have a claim? Like, I know we used to have a claim rule when we raced at Lawrenceburg or whatever, but what is that still in effect now with UMP?
Yeah, I believe UMP still has a claim rule. The problem, or not the problem, but the thing is up here, nobody ever uses it. I believe it's up to like $1,500 somewhere. Don't quote me on that, but it's something like that. And
that's what I thought.
And it's an exchange.
In an exchange. So you've got to come over to the guy. You got to give them $1,500, and not only do you get their engine, but you have to give them you have to swap.
Right. And I've been racing up here 21 years, and I haven't seen it happen. We've had IMCA tracks up here. We've had UMP tracks. I don't know if it's the area or what, but it's like everybody's scared to death to claim anything. So You know?
Well, because everybody's got a bunch of money in their engines, and they don't want to go pay somebody $1,500, and then they get it, and it's not half of what they traded them. You know what I mean? That kind of puts a limit on it. I mean, versus if you go up to the guy and you finish on the lead lap and you buy his motor for $300 or $500. Now, I never agreed with that, and that was kind of that's what kind of limited me from going and running at those IMCA Knoxville Nationals like back in the 90s, because I really wanted to do that, but that's what I was worried about.
Yeah, I think the best way to limit the motors is the tires, and I mean right now the tires are getting a little bit out of hand with. I mean, I think Hoosiers, they've stayed with the same tire that they've had for a while, but I think the quality of it has gone down a little bit. But I think I ran an IMCA when it first started. The first show we ran at Eldora was an IMCA show, and that tire was so darn hard that you didn't need anything more than a 355. Of course, we didn't have the 4-bar suspensions that we have now, stuff like that. But if they could
I'm pretty sure I put some of them
tire limited, that'll take care of the motor.
I put some of them old McCreary's on a Camaro that I had and drove them for about 50,000 miles.
Did you say McCreary's?
That's what you used to have to run. They made you run the McCreary's.
Yeah, that was the old IMCA tire, was a McCreary, which American Racer bought out the McCreary tire, or bought out McCreary. But yeah, those tires were hard as could be. They were harder than the back of Superman's head.
Oh yeah.
All right. We got a caller. Go ahead, caller. What's your name and where are you from?
My name is Louis Robinette. I'm calling from Huntsville, Alabama. Actually, I'm in Nashville right now, but I'm from Huntsville.
And sir, you are the announcer at Huntsville Motor Speedway, I take it.
Yes, sir. I'm the trackside announcer at both Huntsville Speedway, and I'll also be the trackside announcer at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway this year.
I'd like to bring Gene Mince back into the conversation. Gene, you are having to run some asphalt open-wheel cars with the Huntsville Motor Speedway in Nashville because, and go. Gene, are you with us? Okay,
Gene's gone.
Gene's gone. But go ahead, sir. Tell us more about some of the Southern open-wheel cars coming to race with you guys at Huntsville and Nashville.
Right. Well, we've had a lot of success in the last year or so with our open-wheel modifieds. I feel like that part of the secret is to it. Not only does it have a good first-place purse, but all the way back to probably 6th or 7th place, you win enough to cover your tire bill, and with a few dollars left over. The secret there, I think, is spreading the wealth among the drivers. And, it costs the racetrack a little more, but at the same time, we averaged 22 cars last year per race. And that's a pretty good field of modifieds on a quarter-mile track at Huntsville.
Now, do you have a claim? Are you guys using the claim rule down there?
No, we are not. We do not have a claim rule. We have very limited rules. Basically, the rules are you run the track tire, you have a tread width, you have a motor location rule. As far as setback, you have a spoiler rule, and you're limited to one carburetor, one engine. You can run aluminum heads if you like. Now, they do not allow the all-aluminum motors, of course, because those are just prohibitively expensive, and they are a big advantage. But it's been a really good year for us at Huntsville, and I'm looking for it to be again this year. We have aligned ourselves with the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, and we're going to be running a series for open-wheel modifieds. Where there'll be 3 races at each track, and all 6 races are paying good money. Plus, they're going to have money put into a points fund for them at the end of the season.
How many?
Gene is one of the dirt track drivers that came and ran with us last year, I believe it was, and he was very competitive. He took his, from what I understand, he took his dirt car and converted it to an asphalt car, and I think the thing that hurt him the worst was actually Gene had too much horsepower.
Gene, are you back with us? Gene, are you with
back.
us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gene was very competitive, with the drivers down here. Did a really good job, and I think he enjoyed the racing as much as the fans did too, because it was such good racing.
Hey, Gene, now, the question I was trying to ask you was, how many Southern dirt open wheel cars are converting their cars over to race with Huntsville and Nashville?
I only know of one other. Ken Hickman did with a Jet Mod. He's from Piedmont. So, I mean, it's pretty much you're either one or the other, pretty much.
I understand. What I'm trying to get at is, you're doing that just to race, and obviously you're not getting the attention you need from the Southern dirt tracks. If you're putting different shock package and spring package and different tires on to go race at Huntsville.
Oh, of course. And the lead is a big thing. Placement. There's a lot of things that are different.
Yeah, you're gonna do a major set. I mean, you guys obviously, if you're running it on dirt, you gotta be running that 4-bar setup on the rear end. Have you tried that on the pavement?
That's what we run now. You have to take all the angle out of all the bars. I can't even go into all the things you have to do to even halfway be close. But it's you really need a dedicated car to really outrun the guys that know what they're doing at Huntsville.
All right, Kevin Waddell. I want to go back to Kevin Waddell. Kevin, have you and Harold, you and your father, have you thought about running the asphalt, or do you guys just kind of go around and snipe for some of these races?
No, I mean we've spoken about it. Never really went into great details on whether we were or not. You know, we would rather have a dedicated car for the asphalt racing, and we like the dirt. I mean, we got nothing against the asphalt, but we just never really had the resources or the time to really sit down and go over the asphalt conversions. You know, like I said, we'd rather have a dedicated car because there's so much work, and you know, and we're the kind of people. Anything we go into, we want to have the capability of being competitive as we can, and I just feel like, you know, trying to convert a dirt car to an asphalt car, you're gonna have a hard time doing that with the top guys at the track.
Now I talked to your. Go ahead.
I was at a race at Huntsville Speedway right at the end of the year last year, and there was a guy there, and I don't know his name or anything, but he had a dirt car there, and you could tell he had swapped his car over. You know what I mean? It was rolling over, and it was, you know, he was pretty much smoking the tires off it all the way around the racetrack, and
right.
You could tell that like Gene's saying and like Kevin's saying, you're going to have something dedicated, or you're not going to be competitive.
That's right, Kevin.
Well, you'd be fast for about a lap.
Right.
Kevin, you guys, I've talked to your dad before. What was the big reason why you guys just decided to do the outlaw stuff and get away from the series, other than the claim rule?
Well, we actually kind of got pushed into it by IMCA. We by no means had a ton of money in our motor. You know, we had a $4,000 or $5,000 motor at the time, and this has been several years ago now. We had a lot of success, and had a couple of guys want to take effect under that claim rule, and they tried to claim my engine and my shocks both on one night. And I kind of told them what I thought of it, because it was one of those vengeance buys. You know, it was one of them deals where it wasn't a racing deal. It was just, you know, they were ticked off at me and tried to buy my stuff. And with that, you know, IMCA, when you get tossed out from not claiming and whatnot, you have to pay a pretty substantial fine and set out some time. And so we kind of got pushed into the outlaw racing, and turns out we kind of enjoyed it a little better than the IMCA stuff.
Gene Mince, have you participated in any outlaw events here in the South?
Attempted to, yes.
What was your experiences with the outlaw series here?
Well, we get outrun pretty bad. Kevin runs real well with those faster cars. We would have to step up our program just a little bit.
Is the future of Southern open wheel dirt track racing outlaw or sanctioned? And go, Kevin.
I don't really. The outlaw stuff is kind of, you know, you're getting on up there into the budget of people. A lot of people that want to race and want to be in a dedicated race car, you know, not a converted, you know, hobby car or something like that. The outlaw stuff gets a little too expensive. I mean, you spend a little more on the money, and plus the traveling expenses and stuff like that. I would like to have a sanctioning series that just had a little bit more leniency on the rules than what IMCA did. Because, I mean, you can get out of hand with any racing, so you need some kind of limitations on what you can spend on motors and, you know, shocks and tire treatments and stuff like that. So I like the outlaw racing, but I'd kind of like a sanctioning series with some sort of rules, just a little more lenient than IMCA.
It sounds like, Webb, all they need to do is just put that swap deal in there on top of their claim rule, and
yeah, a lot of tracks are going to that. You know, like he was saying up north, the $1,500 swap. But when you go to these outlaw races, everybody knows that they're racing against top quality stuff.
Yeah, well, if the name Outlaw is in front of it, you better show up there with sprint car tires and, you know, I don't even know if you'd want a big block or whatever, but hell, whatever you'd have to do.
Kevin, before...
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, you have to put a little bit more money into things to run the outlaw stuff.
Yeah.
Kevin, before we let you go, thank your sponsors, and what are you guys going to do here in 2012?
Well, the biggest people I'd like to thank is, of course, my mom, my dad, and my wife for supporting me and helping me with all of it. And then we've got a couple of sponsors from Marshall County. It's the Surgical Associates of Marshall County and Destination Weight Loss. It's Dr. Britton Groves. They specialize in black band procedures up there at Marshall County Medical Center South. And I guess we're just going to try to hit some of the, within 2 or 3 hour shows and see if we can make a run at this year, see if we can have maybe a little breakout year.
Well, Kevin, tell your dad, Harold, thanks for you guys being on tonight, and good luck with your 2012 season.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks for having us on.
No problem. Gene Mince, I need for you to finish up with sanctioned or outlaw. What do you think's best for the South in open wheel modifieds?
I have to agree with Kevin. We need a sanction series for the South that limits what you spend. We need engine rules. I talked with my engine builder, TJ Alford, and he says we need engine rules that say what you can and can't do. He said that'll save us money more than anything. It doesn't matter to me, really. I just want to race dirt and pavement. I just like it all.
All right. Before I let you go, you thank your sponsors, and you got a website or anything like that you want to talk about?
Just thank Joey Jones for the help he has given, and TJ Alford for all the engine support.
Alfords are a bunch. They're a good bunch. TJ and Miss Mary with the War Paint Racing Graphics. Gene, thank you for coming on. We're going to call on you again later in the season and see how things are going with you.
Be glad to. Thank you.
Gene Mince, Weaver, Alabama. Shane, what can you do to help us here in the South come up with a feasible format for our open wheels?
I don't know. It sounds like maybe that some of the tracks down there may even want to look into the UMP deal. I'm not saying that they're the saving grace, and there's some things that I have issues with, but I mean, it's right now it looks like the lesser of two evils from what you guys are talking about down there. The outlaw racing that them guys are talking about sounds a lot like the rules that we run in UMP. Basically, they do check the bodies, and we do have a certain tire that we run, but
but they give you quite a few options on those bodies too, because I mean a lot of the cars that I see lately look like USMTS cars or whatever, and they just limit you with that spoiler, right?
Yeah, and then with UMP being so spread out, they try to send inspectors out the tracks and stuff like that, but they're not gonna. I mean, you have to blatantly do something crazy to get in trouble with them where they won't let you race. Usually it's, hey, fix this next time we see you, and it may or may not be taken care of, and and as long as you're, if the spoiler says 5 inches and you're 5 1/4, they're going to let it go. But if you're 6 1/2, then they're gonna, they're gonna park you. But
they're gonna make you cut it down.
Yeah. Yep. So.
Well, all right. Before I let you go, Shane, hang on one second. I'm gonna bring a caller on. We have a caller. I'm trying. All right, caller, go ahead. What's your name and where are you from? Hello. Go ahead. This is Patrick Copeland. I'm taking it.
Yeah, yes, it is.
How you doing, Pat?
Oh, hanging in there.
We are knee deep in open wheel modifieds tonight. What are your thoughts as a fast track Northeast crew chief of a crate late model? What are your thoughts on the open wheel cars?
I've seen quite a few people do quite well with them. You know, these guys are talking about these outlaw cars, and that's what I predominantly see up my way. But you know, I see what these guys are talking about, these motors and stuff. The only thing that I see wrong with the whole deal is a lot of them get too much money into their motors. But
well,
right,
the first thing,
see, Patrick, doesn't that equal out to you just spend a bunch of money on something that's not going to make you go any faster, just because of the tires?
Exactly, Brian.
Yeah,
100%.
Well, the first thing you want to do when you want to screw up racing is you tell the race car drivers, just spend as much money as you want to, and that's the problem. Hey, Shane, going back to what you're talking about, creating dialogue between the regions. Do you think we can get the UMP down here? Do you think that they would have any interest? I know you're not with UMP,
or just explain how you got all those guys to come together. Because I just had this discussion I had this discussion this morning, with a prominent late model owner here in the area. How do you get these guys to come together?
Well, with the CMC, the Cincinnati Modified Championship, I mean, that was basically something it was already in place. The tracks were already running. They were already running the same rules. We just basically went in there and added points to the system. And the first year we did it, we just did it without really even getting any money behind it or anything like that. And we just did it kind of as a showcase to show people. And a lot of people all of a sudden got behind it because they're like, hey, this is pretty cool. You can see, who's doing the best in the area, and you get to follow your favorite drivers, and it really given a lot of PR to guys that you normally wouldn't hear about, and people got excited about it. So then the next year we were able to bring in sponsors and get sponsors involved. As far as going out and actually starting a deal, I mean, it's hard to do without somebody already established like UMP or IMCA or something like that. So I know UMP would jump at the chance to get. I mean, they're in Arizona. They're spread through all through the country. They're in Florida. They have tracks. So
that's basically a call for the tracks that are down that way, that they need to have a discussion amongst themselves and say, hey, look, this is working here. Maybe we can integrate some of this into our program here. But the key, I think, is to keep everything consistent across the board, and that's really what made it. I think it made the modifieds grow so quickly up here, is that no matter where we went, I mean, we could go just about anywhere and race against guys where the rules were still the same.
Kyle May can back me up on this, but let me just put a lineup of tracks from a southern perspective. Green Valley, Talladega, Rome, Dixie, Boyd's. 5 tracks right there. Kyle May, would you not love to see third? So let's say, what do you start, 26 open wheel cars? Are you kidding me at those tracks?
Yeah, it'd get pretty wild. Probably for Boyd's and Talladega, it'd be a little hectic, but they pulled it off this weekend for Ice Bowl, so I think it'd be pretty awesome.
Hectic is a part of what we do.
Right, exactly. I mean, I've seen them start 110 cars at Salem.
They were
110, Webb, at a racetrack where the street stocks run over 100 mile an hour.
I'm
That's
all
a fact.
for.
They do it every year.
I am a Hoosier transplanted in the South, and I'm for all forms of motorsports. I would care to see 12 Indy cars at Green Valley. Be honest with you. Just saying.
I don't think they start enough. I think the minimum. There's no reason why you can't run 28, 30 cars. Shane will probably disagree with me.
No, I think you could. As long as you're not on a tight quarter mile, I don't think that would work.
28 cars at Moeller's would be awesome, because only about 10 of you guys frickin' finish.
Well, that's what I mean, though. You'd have a lot of people running for the exits, though, because they get tired of sitting through yellow flags. So if you put 28 cars out there and do a one yellow and done, you'd have a lot of guys keeping the car running and stuff like that, and not bringing out the yellow to get a restart or something like that. But
yeah, I mean, you can do that.
But everything's not perfect up here either. We got our issues and we got our problems, and our mod counts are going down. We're losing that we're losing those guys, that last 10 cars that come rolling in there that, just, they're not as funded as well as everybody else, and, we're losing those guys. And we used to, we were probably averaging 45, 50 cars, 5, 6 years ago, and now we're down to, we're averaging 30 cars a night, which, it sounds like down in the South they'd be happy to have, but, if it keeps going that way, we're going to be in trouble.
That's right.
Yeah, well, the thing, and like I said, with the rules that they're making on these cars, I mean, I've talked with, I'm not running the modifieds anymore, but, I deal with a lot of guys that still race them, and this is what I'm hearing. What killed the late models is going to kill the modifieds.
Go ahead, caller. Where you, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hey, Webb, it's Wesley Outland again. I wanted to add into this dialogue and this commentary that y'all are talking about because, before I started traveling, calling races, with Fast Track and Ultimate, I was a ham and egger myself. I had to start at the local short track level just like these Friday and Saturday night racers do, whether they live up north and in the South. And I followed the open wheel modifieds, too. The modifieds, believe it or not, now I know that you're getting a lot of, dictation about, well, the Northern's really picking up or it's where it needs to be. The South is falling off. I have to disagree with y'all. My home track where I started announcing at Dirt was County Line Raceway. I told them 4 years ago, guys, you need to get open wheel modifieds. Finally, there was a dilemma between Fayetteville and Dublin with car count and pay issues and the threats like one of the callers had mentioned about, hey, if you can't bring me this many cars, we're going to cut the class. But ultimately, Webb Dillard, before they even threatened to cut the class, they talk about cutting the purse. Well, that makes people mad right off the bat, right there. You drive to compete and run a race, and you get there, and it's advertised that you're going to be paying a certain amount of money. Based on a car count, they turn around and they say, well, I'm sorry, we can't pay this.
Well, that's a promoter issue there, Wesley, and I've heard of that happening before, but most of the people that I've seen, especially around here, that say we're going to pay this, typically, I think I can only recall one place that actually cut the purse after they said they were going to pay something, but they at least told us before we went out and raced and gave us the opportunity to load up and leave.
Well, Brian, if I can...
Go ahead.
Brian, if I can add, a lot of that was taken care of by our ancestors because I remember as a kid, a lot of that stuff was done up here. And what would happen is the drivers would load the cars up when they'd get together. And when my dad raced, they'd come down and say, well, we're going to have to cut the purse, the crowd's down, and the racers would load the cars up and leave. And you do that enough times, and the promoters learn the lesson that what they advertise, they got to pay. And, nobody tries that up here anymore.
No, and that's a fact, and that's the thing. That's what I was saying, Shane, before, is that it's kind of coming to a point where there needs to be a dialogue amongst the racers again. And I'm just trying to figure out how do you bring that together when you've got to deal with the egos that you have to deal with, and that's just part of the territory.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was just going to say, it's very hard to get people to agree on something, and it has to start with the promoters. You have to get all the promoters to agree on a set of rules. And the problem is they have about 50 people whispering in their ear stuff they want to see.
Well, listen, if we could take greed out of the equation and get these guys on the same page, this sport would grow, whether it would be late models, whether it be open wheel, whether it be legends or dwarfs on dirt. Shane, before we let you go, before we end the program, I want you to thank your sponsors or anybody you'd like to thank. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to thank AFCO Racing Products. They've been with me since I've been racing, and that's over a 20-year marriage, and they've just been great. We've grown together, and we've tried a lot of stuff, and we've found a lot of things that don't work, but we've also found some things that work, so I want to thank them. I want to thank my dad that basically owns the car, does all kinds of work on the car, builds my motors, and couldn't do it without him. And also want to mention the Cincinnati Modified Championship. It's got open enrollment right now for drivers to sign up. You can go to CincinnatiModifiedChampionship.com and go ahead and get registered. And basically, it's one of the only series around that you don't have any money collected from racers or from tracks. It's free to sign up, and it's totally benefits the racers.
Hey, Shane, as we progress into the new season, 2012.
Did you hear that, Webb?
Yeah, I heard every.
Absolutely doesn't cost you anything to sign up, and they don't charge the racetracks.
That we should be able to get some races signed up down here.
Let me tell you something. That right there is what that's what it's all about.
And last year we paid out almost $3,000 in prizes.
Shane, what
about that?
I mean, listen, that's unheard of in these times.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is that it can be done if somebody's motivated and loves the sport enough. Shane Mugavin is the kind of guy that we need to recreate in this world. We need more guys like him around.
Shane is probably about worked himself into being the fourth co-host of the show.
I wish I had time, guys. It's hard to get a car going and do all the things that the CMC requires. And I got great guys helping me. I got Chris Lucky, and a lot of people stepped up to really come forward with money and helped out. Brad Wick, people like that. Couldn't do it without those kind of people. So it's just not me, but I appreciate it.
Shane, we're going to call on you later in the season to get an update on the open wheel season as you see it. I'd like to thank all my guests this evening. I'd like to thank Mr. Gene Mince for joining us from Weaver, Alabama. I'd like to thank Kevin Waddell Racing, joining us, open wheel, outlaw racing there. Brian Gray, what are your thoughts closing the evening out?
My thoughts are I'm ready to go racing.
I hear you.
I'm not, but the problem is that I'm not ready. But I wish I was ready. But I want to go tomorrow.
Kyle May, your thoughts in the program?
I think that open wheels, I think they're a fun class to watch, like Gene said, and it wouldn't bother me if they came back around here and hot and heavy and raced, because I enjoyed watching them. And I had a guy, Jason Williams, out of Scottsboro. I drove for him in the Bama Bash a couple of years ago with that open wheel, and he mentioned something about driving it again this year. And like I said, I think they're a ball, and I think they're fun to watch, and maybe they'll pick up.
Kyle May, I have one question. What's my jam?
I can do it, but you're not going to see.
You better be dancing. All right, for all my guests, Kyle May and Brian Gray, all my guests, I'd like to thank you for joining us on In the Dirt.
Well, last thing, Webb, is just everybody out there remember violence isn't the answer. And
it's not.
Rest in peace, Donnie Ray.
Yeah, I would never like to report bad news here on In the Dirt, but listen, you guys, let's just all get along, to quote. And next week, hopefully we'll come back. We'll come back next week. We will come back next week, Monday. I'll try to bring us some. I'll bring us some stuff from Arizona. How about that? I get home just in time to turn on the radio and the internet radio and start In the Dirt. How about that?
It's gonna be perfect.
All right. For Webb Dillard, Brian Gray, Kyle May, this is In the Dirt, and we'll see you next week.